Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at @StoneShields_. We hit our goal for July. We got to the 300 follower mark, but we still have about 5 days left in the month for a little bonus action. So let's see if we can hit 350 followers before the month of July ends. Again, we'll have all of our Bengals content posted to my Twitter, all of our videos, as well as any highlights or stuff like that, and reports, rumors, news from Bengals training camp. So don't miss out. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter. That is at @StoneShields_. Welcome on into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Thank you so much for joining us here on a Friday. Got an exciting show planned out today. So obviously, days 1 and days 2 of Bengals training camp is in the books. So we're going to have a little, a recap of what we know so far and some significant things that have stood out to us. Number one, obviously, we're going to give you an update on Jamar Chase. That's kind of the big talk of the town at this point. He has not practiced day 1 or day 2, so questions have kind of arose about whether or not this is kind of a hold-in situation. Also, we got a couple players that their stock has gone up the first 2 days of Bengals training camp, so we'll tell you who those two guys are. Also, we'll check in on our quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. Were really, really solid yesterday, so we'll touch on that, as well as give you a report on what the injuries look like of the team right now. Some guys that aren't practicing are practicing. We'll fill you in on that coming up later on today's show. First off, we will start with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase has not practiced the first 2 days of Bengals training camp. Questions have come up. He's been with the team, of course, but is he holding in? Obviously, he wants that contract extension, right? Looking to become one of the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the NFL and presumably probably the highest paid wide receiver as well. That seems to be his plan because he is healthy and he's not out there, so clearly he's trying to make a point and trying to get that extension. Let's take a look at what Jay Morrison put out on Twitter. Jay Morrison does fantastic work covering the Bengals over at Pro Football Network, so make sure you give him a follow and read all of his content as well. But this is what he said. He said, Zach wouldn't say if Chase's absence is contract related. Just said he has a plan and has been in constant communication. There's never been a plan that involves sitting a healthy player for the first 2 days of training camp. Zach wouldn't say what the plan is for Chase on Friday, which we will find out about in a couple of hours because the Bengals are set to start practice a little bit after 2 o'clock. Let's turn back the clocks a little bit and get to what Zach Taylor said before day 1 of Bengals training camp a couple of days ago. He said, we've got a bunch of guys, like I told you guys yesterday, that we've got a plan for early in camp. T being that guy, also with Jamar, Trey Hendrickson. Tomorrow, Joe Burrow won't throw. That was pre-planned. There's a lot of guys that they and I are on the same page with how we want to handle things. So let me correct myself real quick. That actually was after practice yesterday that Zach Taylor made those remarks. He actually, had an unscheduled meeting with the media and kind of was forced into addressing this Jamar Chase situation. So that was not a scheduled appearance with the media, but those comments took place yesterday afternoon. And look, Zach is clearly in a tough spot here, right? And for the record, I absolutely love Zach Taylor and how he handles things. But, Jamar Chase is kind of putting him in a tough situation here, and he's trying to toe that line right now, right? He said there's a plan in place. We'll see, if he doesn't practice Friday or today, that kind of, rises some questions. But also Jamar Chase has declined to speak with the media. So that's making things a little bit more difficult for Zach Taylor, right? If Jamar would go out there, kind of fill everybody in on what exactly is going down, that would clear the air a little bit right now. But Zach Taylor has remained firm that there is a plan, that he's in constant communication, which I believe. I believe he knows exactly what Jamar Chase is doing and wants to do. But as far as when he's going to go out on the practice field, I'm not so sure if that has been settled yet. Because like I said, if he doesn't practice today, to me, there's no plan, right? Jamar Chase is a healthy football player, right? It'd be one thing if he was injured, right? But, a healthy guy missing the first 3 days of training camp really doesn't make any sense to me. So that leads us to the pinned comment of today's show. What is your concern level with Jamar Chase? Scale it for me in the comment section, 1 to 10. Are you worried that we haven't seen him, or is this just, is he taking care of business and he'll be out there in no time? Let us know what you think down in the comment section with the pinned comment of today's show. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. All right, so Shedrick Jackson has been absolutely balling for the Cincinnati Bengals through the first 2 days of training camp. And, of course, he's getting reps because Jamar Chase is not out there. And he even ran with the ones a little bit yesterday and was building some nice chemistry with Joe Burrow. Once again, let's go back to our friend Jay Morrison and see what he had to say yesterday after Bengals practice. He said, Jackson continues to take advantage of Jamar Chase's absence. In addition to the deep ball, Jackson caught a few other passes from Burrow and third-string quarterback Logan Woodside. The fact that Jackson is getting first-team reps is significant enough. That Burrow trusts him enough to repeatedly target him is even bigger. Look, chemistry with the backups is really, really important, right? I've said before on this show, the 6 guys that the Bengals are going to take at the receiver spot, to me, are pretty much set in stone. But that doesn't mean guys on the practice squad aren't valuable. And Shedrick Jackson, his great uncle, is actually Bo Jackson, who I'm sure you have heard of, has gone out there through the first couple of days and has done really, really well for Cincinnati. And he's also a guy that could contribute on special teams. We saw a little bit out of him last year. I believe he came up for 2 regular season games, got some action out there, on the special teams unit for Cincinnati. But look, there's no such thing as too many receivers, right? I mean, as long as, he has a spot on the practice squad, assuming that he's not going to make the 53-man unless, of course, somebody gets hurt in training camp or the preseason. But I could see him going out there and being a real solid guy for the Bengals on their practice squad and a guy that Zach Taylor can trust if they need to ever bring him up at some point during the regular season, and more importantly, somebody that Joe Burrow trusts as well. Another guy who saw their stock go up yesterday was Joseph Ossai. Once again, let's see what Jay Morrison had to say about Joseph Ossai. He said, Ossai got first-team reps opposite Sam Hubbard with Trey Hendrickson taking the day off. It doesn't mean he's flown past Myles Murphy on the depth chart, but it was a notable day 2 promotion for Ossai, who ran mostly with the third team Wednesday as Murphy and Cam Sample played defensive end with the second team. And this room is really, really interesting when you take a look at it. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, those are your 2 guys. Those are your 2 starters going out there for Cincinnati. But that defensive end 3 spot, I mean, it's tough to say defensive end 3 because multiple guys are going to, fill in on that line. But as far as who's going to get the most playing time, could be Myles Murphy, could be Joseph Ossai, or could be Cam Sample, who, of course, we talked about yesterday. ESPN actually has him not making the roster, which I would be shocked by. But it would be interesting to monitor that group. And I think you're going to see, just because Ossai, got to fill in for Hendrickson yesterday, I don't think that's too much of a telltale sign. I think all of those guys are going to have their opportunities, which leads us to another chance for you guys to get interactive in the comments section. Do me a favor and pick a third defensive end for Cincinnati. Type M if you think it's Myles Murphy, S for Cam Sample, or O for Joseph Ossai. Really interested to see what you guys have to say about this because I think this is a kind of a position that nobody's really talking too much about. It's a very valuable position, and one of these guys is really going to have to step up big for Cincinnati. Because we've talked about before, the pass rush last year for the Bengals was really Trey Hendrickson or nothing. So one of these 3 are going to have to pop off and have a nice year. Let me know which of the 3 you would pick. We'll get to a QB update here in a second. Both Joe Burrow and Jake Browning were really, really sharp yesterday. It's training camp, so the Bullets obviously aren't really flying full speed, but it is good to see them practicing well and hitting their receivers in stride, and we will dive into that in a moment. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time because today's show is presented by Game Time. And I love the summer because Major League Baseball is in full swing, and I love making the walk down the street from our Chat Sports offices to Great American Ballpark to catch a Reds game every chance I get. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So that's nice. You don't have to sit there and plan it out in advance. You could go out there, be a little spontaneous, get tickets right before the games begin. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And with the NFL season just over a month away, you can get tickets to watch the Bengals down at Paycor Stadium. And Game Time doesn't just have sporting events either. They also have concerts. Get some tickets to Riverbend. Check out what's going on down there. Comedy, theater across the street at the Aronoff Center, and much more. Game Time has so many features that I really appreciate in a ticketing app. They have those zone deals, those last-minute deals that you can they can hook you up with. And they have those panoramic views of your seat, so you can see exactly where you're going to be sitting before you purchase your ticket. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off first purchase. Visit gametime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so these are some of the stats that we saw from the quarterbacks in terms of day 2 of Bengals training camp. As you can see, only one incompletion total as far as their team reps went. Burrow, perfect 10 out of 10. And Browning, one incompletion, actually was a batted down screen pass. So the quarterbacks were pretty much perfect yesterday. And, it is worth noting that, it's not a situation where they're getting hit, obviously. So, they've got more time. It's a lot easier, for them to produce in training camp than it would be in a real game. But the fact that Joe Burrow is out there slinging it, that is a good sign for us as Bengals fans. You talk to the guys that have been at training camp and have seen him, throw, and he looks like the Joe Burrow of old. It's been well documented that he's put on some additional size, additional weight, and he's been out there really throwing it around, looking like the MVP candidate we know in Joe Burrow. So, obviously, that is very, very encouraging. Taking a look at what the injury report looks like for Cincinnati. Cam Taylor-Britt's still out, missed 2 days recovering from tonsil surgery. He's considered day-to-day. He's going to be fine. Not worried about that whatsoever. Moving down the list here on the left-hand side of your screen, Eric All, the non-football injury list. I'm not convinced we're going to see him anytime soon as he recovers from his knee issue. Trent Brown, had that tightness that he's dealing with that put him on the injured list. We see him out there at practice. He's done a great job communicating with the Marius Mims. I feel like it's only a matter of time before he's out there. We'll actually get to that in a second. DJ Ivey, PUP list. Recovering from that brutal knee injury last year. Big DJ Ivey fan myself. And then you got some 2 veteran days off with Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. Zach Taylor talked about how he's had a plan in place for these veterans. They're not going to be out there every day. They're going to get additional time off because these guys know what it's like to play in the NFL, to win in the NFL, and really training camp is more of an opportunity for the young guys to get their feet wet. But this leads us to our next question for you guys. Will Trent Brown practice before the first preseason game, which is coming up, by the way? That's August 10th. So, not too far away before the Bengals get on the field for the first time. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Will Trent Brown practice before the first preseason game? Type Y for yes or type N for no. And make sure you guys are subscribed here to our channel at Bengals Breakdown for all the latest Bengals news, rumors, coverage, you name it. We've got it here at Bengals Breakdown. So hit that sub button. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV.